I'm making this film because I'm turning 83 and I'm not in that good health. I have pacemakers and stuff keeping me going. And I would like this to be put down by me, not by somebody else.
Let's go back to over 2,000 million years ago. A meteorite larger than Table Mountain came hurtling towards Earth at 25 kilometers per second. In an instant, it struck the surface with a force beyond imagination. The explosion was so powerful that it reshaped the land, sent shockwaves to the Earth's core and back, and left behind some of the largest scars on Earth. That place? The Vredefort structure. But here's the thing. Its story isn't finished. In fact, what if what you see unfold in this documentary proves that the history that you've been taught is wrong? And what if this impact didn't just create one structure, but three?
The first time I heard about Vredefort was on a road trip with my high school sweetheart. Her father was a geologist, Dr. Leslie Boardman, and he was the discoverer of the world's biggest manganese deposits and the scission iron ore deposits. He took us and showed us Vredefort. I have a picture of Louise and myself in my biography. That's Louise and that's me. It's not a very good picture. The lighting's not very good. And so that started my interest in Vredefort. I am David P. Howcroft. There are lots of David Howcrofts in research, but there's only one David P. Howcroft.
Over the years, Dave's curiosity about this meteorite intrigued him. That's how his mind works. Once something catches his attention, he must pull it apart until he understands every detail. And the deeper he dug, the more uneasy he became. Something wasn't adding up.
And so I built up a library, probably somewhere between 500 and 1,000 scientific papers. I would spend probably 8 hours a day researching these papers.
Sir Cole Papa proposed that for a theory to be abandoned or refined, scientists should first prove them false, which is precisely what Dave set about to do. He questioned the accepted timeline, examined the evidence, and uncovered things that didn't fit. For decades, geologists have confidently dated the Vredefort impact at 2,023 million years old. It's what they teach at universities. But Dave believes they got it wrong, and that the meteorite struck 215 million years ago. He believes this mistake has blinded the geologists to something bigger. That the meteorite didn't create just one structure, it created three: the Vredefort Impact Structure, the Bushveld Complex, and the Great Dyke in Zimbabwe, all part of the same event. Since 1990, the orthodox geoscientists have believed that these three structures are unrelated, separated by time. Vredefort is dated at 2023 million years, the Bushveld Complex at 2056 million years, and the Great Dyke at 2575 million years. Three different dates, three separate events. But if Vredefort is as young as Dave claims, those numbers don't add up. And everything the geologists thought they knew falls apart.
I then one day got a detailed map just of Zimbabwe, and that had all the contours on here. And so you could draw a line in the contours to follow this. And I found that the Great Dyke lined up precisely with the center of Vredefort, and the center point of Bushveld Complex is where this V is over here at a place called Bella Bella. That's when all the pennies dropped. These three structures were linked together. They all happened at the same time.
Dave is my stepdad. I mean, he's like a grandfather for our children and like a dad for us. He's a very kind person. He's always cracking jokes and he makes us laugh a lot. So you having fun?
Always having fun, thank you.
Yeah.
So how's my dog?
No, dog's doing very well. She's on diet, so she's doing well.
Yes, I can see that by the photos. I'll have to be on diet as well when I get back.
He's been a very good mentor. Taught me a lot. I mean, you know, you got to work hard and you can't just, it doesn't just fall out the sky. You got to lead by example, because he started with nothing and he's worked his way up and done very well for himself. I had two big businesses in automation and manufacturing industrial electronics. I did the instrumentation for South African breweries that turned them into the second biggest brewer in the world. I designed and built nearly 300 power station boilers fully equipped with computer monitoring systems for steam leaks in the boilers by analyzing sound. Spent my time running around China and India and Germany and everywhere selling these things to power stations. Yeah, Dave did very well financially, but money's not his driving, force. He liked to, have a problem which nobody else could sort out and come up with a solution. Even though I've done so many important things in my life, this is the most important thing to me. It's become the most important thing because I am so sure that all the proof is there to show that I am right.
Dave is embarking on this journey, from South Africa to Zimbabwe, to bring his theory on the Vredefort structures to life. This isn't just a story for him. It's a pursuit of truth.
Traffic, tell my kilo 66 from the elevator helipad 35 direction, right turn out, reaching Northcliffe. Were you happy with the distance away from Northcliffe?
That's perfect. I grew up near Northcliffe Hill, probably a few kilometers from the bottom of the hill. So we would ride our bicycle up that steep hill where the cars are coming down. And this is where our hunting ground was as Boy Scouts.
Growing up, Dave had no idea he was living on the edge of the Vredefort crater. Even now, no one really talks about Northcliffe sitting right on the rim of this massive 300-kilometer-wide impact site.
Dave, am I correct when I say that this is the largest meteorite strike crater in the world, or?
It's the largest exposed meteorite crater in the world.
When Dave learned about Vredefort at 17 years old, the geologists of that time were convinced that the meteorite struck Earth around 250 to 200 million years ago. This was based on evidence from sedimentation, erosion, and fossils. And for decades, it seemed like the right story. But then, in the 1990s, radiometric dating of a rock called pseudotachylite pushed that timeline back, way back, to over 2,000 million years. How did they get such hugely different ages? To solve this mystery, we need to go back to the source. The heart of the Vredefort Dome, deep in Parys, South Africa. That's where the story begins. And that's where Dave believes we'll find the answers.
Parys is straight down in front of us. Most of the Vredefort Dome starts in this area. I'd say it might get a little bit bumpy this side, guys. So
yes.
We're on the downwind side of the ridge.
That was absolutely great. Thank you very much. Oh, there you are. Yeah, nice to meet you, Graham.
Welcome, the man who's got a different idea.
Absolutely, yes.
Graham Anderson, a journalist and guide, has spent over 20 years leading tours through the Vredefort Dome. He knows this land like the back of his hand and has been asked to help navigate the area. They start with a rafting trip along the Vol River, where they'll take a closer look at some exposed pseudotachylite, the first clue in unraveling this mystery.
Okay, we got to turn. If we go straight, Garrett.
Go straight.
Hard, 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 hard. Hard.
Hard.
Ahead of us is a famous rapid called Gatsin.
Hudson.
Gatsin. See your ass.
Oh.
Well done, Jarrett.
Hey, holding on, holding on.
Okay.
That's back pedal. Ah!
Paddle, 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 paddle. Here comes the thing.
What's the thing with the Graham? What's the thing?
The thing is a big surfing wave.
Here we go.
Now we're going through it. Okay, this is the pool where David and I can talk.
Oh!
So how was that?
That was wonderful.
Me too.
The Vredefort Dome is one of the most controversial impact structures on Earth. The theories about it abound. And they go right from the idea that this was quite recent to very ancient Earth history.
I'm the quite recent side of the story, and Graham follows the geological orthodoxy, which says it's 2,000 million years old compared to my 200 and a bit million years old.
And I'm very happy to meet somebody who's got a different theory.
Thank you.
All right, let's walk along. Everybody be very careful on these rocks. They are extremely slippery, even when dry. Here are a couple of ridges here. Over here, these are the pseudotachelites.
Pseudotachylite is a rock that has been powdered probably by severe earthquake that were given off by the impacts, and then they reset hard, and when they set hard they come out with a different structure because of the pounding that they've had, and they have a different color. This is definitely the start of the puzzle.
Yeah.
With Dave's background of 47 years in automation, instrumentation, measurement and control, he set about examining what the academics had measured.
Now, in the standard view of geologists, it is that type of pseudotachylite which has been used to date the dome at 2.023 billion years ago. What they've done is that they have used radiometric dating on the zircons that they find in the pseudotachylite.
The problem here is that 3 sets of geoscientists, the earliest one was Shand in 1916, took pseudotachylite and the host rock and dated them both, and found that chemically the pseudotachylite and the host rocks were absolutely identical. And they said that the pseudotachylite was not impact melt.
Dave's research turned up a 1916 paper by Professor Samuel Shand. He proved that the dark pseudotachylite was made up of identical material to the host rock and was not impact melt. Other recent papers confirmed the finding and agreed that the pseudotachylite was the same age as the host rock. So, by 2016, 100 years later, it was clear that the impact could be any age from 2023 million years old till now.
We're going to the top of the mountain to see Moses. Look at the big tortoise. Tortoise. A big tortoise. Have you heard the tortoises making love?
Oh, good.
They're noisy, eh?
Sounds crazy.
Yeah.
This steep road climbs to the highest point on the narrow edge of an old upturned sedimentary layer, a vantage that reveals the entire dome in one sweeping view. From up here, you can see the scale, the contours, the sheer magnitude of what was left behind.
At one stage, this area here, 40-kilometer diameter, was 27 kilometers up in the sky. at the time of the impact. All these mountains turned on edge by the rebound of the crater that was made by the meteorite. But it's all been filled with sediment from here for 40 kilometers, so it's flat farmland nowadays. It's wonderful to be here.
Once Dave had eliminated pseudotaculite as a means of aging the meteorite, he looked at what the old geologists had done, which led him to sedimentation and erosion. Vredefort is a bowl-shaped crater with an island in the middle, formed by the rebound. Over time, sediment filled the crater and the southern side of the dome. It's clear, those are Karoo sediments. From the thickness and age of the Karoo sedimentation, which fills craters and depressions at 66 meters per million years, structures that were allegedly created over 2,000 million years ago would have been filled with sediment of that period. But no, they are filled with Karoo sediments and coal from 215 to 201 million years ago.
Every time I came across one of these clues to being right, I would run around the house shouting whoopee, and now they must believe me, but that still didn't happen.
I am not a geologist and I'm not a specialist of any kind. I'm not even a scientist, actually. I was originally a science journalist and I retired as a professor in one of the universities in this area. When I first heard about David Howcroft, I thought, look, this is a bit implausible. And I still think that. I haven't changed my opinion despite having met him. He's a very nice guy. I think he's a scholar and a gentleman, and I think he's done his work. But he comes from an instrumentation background and not as a geologist.
Lots of velvet bush willow here.
Yeah.
Have a look at that.
Nice, lovely stuff.
I love the feel of that.
Very hardy plant.
Yes, it is.
But I want to say this. It's a very good thing when somebody raises a question and says, your establishment views are incorrect, because it forces the establishment to re-examine their position, and that is how science works. So while he may be scorned for coming with a very awkward question and a very radical one, on the other hand, academics need to look at that work and say to themselves, well, is there anything in it? Okay.
I'll park myself here. Oh, it's nice and warm. Typically South African bushfire.
Yeah. Dave, have you put your work up for peer review?
No, I haven't. I didn't have very many friends amongst the academics. And now that the attitude is changing, a professor at New York University said to me that I didn't need peer review in order to get published. You try and get published by some reputable magazine first, and that magazine would then want to send your article to somebody to have it peer reviewed. But I looked at it from a different point of view. I'm in a fortunate position where I can afford to print books and give them away. I don't need the money from the books. So what I did is I started giving books to geologists all around the world. And initially the responses were very negative.
I know that in your case, you've issued both an academic version of your theory, which is a big, fat, long book, I suppose, and a more popular family book, you call it.
Yes, actually, the family book is twice as long as the as the academic one, because I've had a very interesting life.
Yeah. I'm afraid I haven't read it because I couldn't get a copy. But I believe you're going to give me one.
That's correct.
And I was quite amused by the title you gave to the book, Unclothed Emperors. And that's a reference, I think, to the academics and the geophysicists who have said that the Vredefort Dome is 2.023 billion years old. And you've come with an alternative, which I think you say it's only a matter of about 250 million years old.
Correct. So I was just reading an Economist magazine, and some journalist was talking about unclothed emperors. And I thought, absolutely perfect. It sums up what I'm doing.
I say there are no stupid questions in science. Mm-hmm. Because if the question has been settled and everybody accepts it, then somebody comes along who's a maverick and asks the stupid question. Mm-hmm. And that is what sends the scientists off. It could be a wild goose chase, but it could also prove to be very valuable in showing up the faults in their own theories.
The orthodox view is that the Vredefort meteorite impacted vertically, but Dave disagrees. He believes that on entering the atmosphere, the meteorite broke into two and impacted obliquely, the first near Colesberg in South Africa to form Vredefort, and a second smaller metallic fragment continued for 900 kilometers, landing near West Nicholson in Zimbabwe to form the Great Dyke. The Vredefort meteorite passed 25 kilometers underground. The shockwave vaporized water, causing a pressure explosion. The floor was forced down, the roof lifted, and the rebound pushed the dome up 27 kilometers high, leaving behind the sharp-edged roof slabs we see today. Gold in the meteorite vaporized and was blasted upwards with ejecta, only to precipitate and rain back into the crater to form conglomerates, which are still mined today. Meanwhile, the meteorite traveled northeast, eventually stopping near Polokwane and causing a metallic magma tsunami. This magma impacted the newly formed Waterberg Mountains, spreading outwards, forming the 400-kilometer diameter Bushveld Complex. The age of the magma, 2,056 million years, matches sediment layers between Vredefort and Bushveld, supporting Dave's idea that most of the meteorite ended up there. Additionally, the Great Dyke in Zimbabwe aligns with the Bushveld Complex and Vredefort Dome. The Great Dyke shares the same mineral ratios as the Bushveld Complex, including platinum, chrome, and vanadium, and its 2,575 million-year-old age matches the sediment it is embedded in. However, dating the Great Dyke doesn't prove it's that old, just as shooting a bullet into ancient sediment doesn't make the bullet the same age.
And that used to be the only evidence that I had originally, but then I found a paper that was written by Gillian Brennan, who's now head of geology at Wits University. And she wrote this paper showing this gouge mark that starts at Colesberg and goes down at 7.2 degrees or thereabouts, all the way down into the ground, and then it spreads out wide on either side of the rebound dome at Vredefort.
It proves the impact.
That's correct. As the meteorite went in, it left a whole lot of magnetites, which is still magnetic to this day. The shell of magnetite takes the shape of a funnel. So it comes in narrow, then it spreads out on either side of Vredefort.
It's time to head to Zimbabwe, a journey that gives Dave space to reflect on the parts of his theory geologists will challenge the most. Like the idea that an oblique meteorite can't travel underground. He searched for evidence and found it. On the moon, at the Schrödinger impact basin. If it happened there, why not here?
We've come about 50 or 60 kilometers from Harare on the road to Victoria Falls. This is the eastern rim of the Great Dyke, which runs for 550 kilometers through Zimbabwe.
While in Zimbabwe, Dave is meeting with Forbes Magumbati, a geologist from Imperial College London, a specialist in mining in this region, and someone who's taken a keen interest in his work.
Hello, Forbes.
Hi, Dave.
Nice to meet you again.
Nice meeting you, Dave.
Yes, wonderful.
Wonderful,
I have great
yeah.
respect for you and glad to have my book and are looking at another side.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
I mean, every piece of information to me is very important.
That's right.
Yeah, to me, it's more almost like reading a very, very good novel.
Yes.
Although
Okay.
it's supposed to be a science book, of course, yeah.
I have tried to find at least 2 proofs that are peer-reviewed for every single thing I've said in the book. It's just not ideas straight out of my mind. It's to do with science.
Yeah, I see in your book you have quite a huge database of references that you have, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, for me, really, if there was a way forward to consolidate your idea, one would surely find a way of dating these structures. Why don't you come up with radiometric dates for each of these? The
Okay.
Great Dyke, the Bushveld.
Because you
Yeah.
can't. I have a geologist in Australia who's head of the CSIRO there, and he said to me, I agree with you, you can't date with radiometric. He said, just get on with the other things that you're doing, like sedimentary and erosion, and anything else you can find.
The good thing about geology is that you can come up with all sorts of theories, but as long as you prove your theory to the extent that other peers also then accept the theory. In terms of whether it's true or not, it's for individuals to go through all the literature that is available.
The Bushveld Complex in South Africa and the Great Dyke in Zimbabwe, 2 of the world's richest deposits of platinum group elements. Separated by 250 kilometers, yet they share something almost impossible to ignore. The exact same mineral ratios, down to the finest detail. How could that be? Unless they came from the same meteor. From Zimbabwe, Dave heads to the magic of the Karoo in the Western Cape of South Africa to find a town called Oudtshoorn, which holds evidence of an ancient glacial age. This is where erosion enters the mystery. It's a crucial clue, one that might just make everything click. An aha moment waiting to happen.
We've stopped on the outskirts of Oudtshoorn in a cutting where there's an entire mountain of glacial rock.
Around 300 million years ago, the southern continents were over the South Pole and in the grip of an ice age. Back then, they were joined together as a continent called Gondwana. An ice sheet nearly 4 kilometers thick covered the land. But then, over time, everything began to shift. Gondwana drifted north towards a warmer climate, and with it, the ice began to retreat, reshaping the landscape and leaving behind clues that bring us one step closer to Dave's truth.
The warmth of the Earth starts melting the ice from the bottom. And then if this ice is at a higher altitude than the ocean, it's going to start sliding down towards the ocean. And all the rocks and stones underneath the ice get rolled, so the bigger rocks get rolled down till they're the same size as the smaller rocks that have been rounded by the ice.
But how does all of this prove Dave's theory? That the meteorite struck 215 million years ago.
One of the eminent scientists in America, he said even the biggest meteorite craters are eroded out of sight within 600 million years. So that means that something that happened 2,000 million years ago, there would be no signs of it today. This glacial period with all of these rocks would have flattened all the crater lips, like Northcliffe Hill, for example. You can imagine if you had 4 kilometers of ice on top of it, it wouldn't exist today. So Northcliffe Hill had to have been formed after the glacial period.
At this point in the investigation, Dave is confident the meteorite struck between 288 to 201 million years ago after the glaciers. But can he get even more specific? That's the question driving him forward. And with that mission in mind, he sets his sights on the majestic Cape Fold Mountains.
I knew the Cape Folds very well for motor rallying in the 1960s, up and down all these mountains. We used to do this at night time in the dark, because that was when the police would agree to close off these mountain passes. Cape Folds is quite a recent entry into my story. I hadn't linked the Cape Fold Mountains to Vredefort. But when I discovered that they'd finally got an accurate age measurement for the Cape Fold Mountains of 215 million years ago, I thought, if it's at the same age and it happened at the same time, how would it have happened? And then when I examined it in detail and worked it out on my map, it turned out that the Cape Fold Mountains are exactly at right angles to the path of the Vredefort meteorite. So the only thing that could cause that is that it was like if you take a sheet of paper and you pull it apart, it'll tear through the middle. And if you let it come back together again, when you tear through the middle, you're left with this crevice that we're looking at, which is a few kilometers deep. And when it comes back together again, this north side shows all the signs that it tipped over and fell into the crevice, like we can see all around us. So we're going through a whole cycle of one thing affecting another, until everything up until now has been wrong because of the wrong dating of Vredefort.
What does this all mean? If the Vredefort meteorite struck not 2,023 million years ago, but 215 million years ago, with the force of 7,000 million megatons of TNT, then what have we all missed? A miscalculation of this scale isn't just a footnote in history. It changes everything. Like the fourth mass extinction, for decades, scientists have tried to solve the mystery of why it happened. How was 76% of the Earth's species wiped out?
As far as the fourth mass extinction goes, there's been no sound theory of what has caused it. Nowadays, they're finding a large amount of fossils aged at about 215 million years ago from animals that had been subjected to some catastrophic damage. Animals that died from wounds, from broken ribs, from broken spines. And this is the sort of thing that you would expect if you had a meteorite impact of the size that we're talking about. When it has been accepted that my theory is correct, then you have to accept that this Vredefort structures would also be the cause of the fourth mass extinction.
What about events that came next? Take the Karoo mantle plume. 204 million years ago, a massive upwelling of hot magma. The result? Continental drift. In 1961, Robert Dietz proved Vredefort was a meteorite impact crater. He once said, "The sciences progress not so much by the discovery of new truth as they do by correction of old error." Maybe it's time for another correction.